welcome back to 365 Unlimited. We are back with another episode. Very excited to sit down for this one. It's that time of year. It's a special Sunday, the big game, whatever you want to call it. The Super Bowl is back. The NFL playoffs are just about to wrap up after this Sunday, and we got the biggest game of them all: the Kansas City Chiefs and the San Francisco 49ers. They will play that game on Sunday, February 11th at 5:30 p.m. Central Time, and it's on CBS. Before we dive into some stuff, I want to throw out something that I noticed right away when talking about CBS. They said that these last couple games with CBS have all been blowouts. Have you guys seen that? You guys have seen it?
Yeah. I just don't want to listen to Tony Romo for 3 hours. That's why I made that comment. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, didn't they call the Kansas City Ravens game?
Yeah, that wasn't a blowout.
No, this is the first. How did I word it? I meant Super Bowl.
Oh, okay. You said last games. I got you.
My bad. Yeah, so CBS, when it comes to the Super Bowl, the last like 4 Super Bowls they've hosted have been blowouts. So obviously that's just something to keep an eye on. You never know what could happen based on what television channel it's on. But this game will be at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, the city that never sleeps, the city that parties, the city that gambles. Everything about Las Vegas will make this game even bigger and more imaginable than it already is. It feels like a party. It feels like a celebration of football. The opening line on this game last week when it came out, when we realized who was going to be facing off in the Super Bowl, San Francisco was favored at 2.5. That has shifted hardly at all. It's now -2 favored San Francisco, with San Francisco having a 59% chance of winning by an average about 3.1 points. So this is going to be interesting. You know, Kansas City's heading back to its 6th Super Bowl, including a remarkable 4th in the past 5 seasons. Well, when we sit here, I mean, let's just open this off and let's just talk about the incredible Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah. One of a kind, man. I mean, I'll take it over right away because my biggest reason why I'm a Pat Mahomes fan too is just like the path of greatness that he's on right now. This keeps propelling and taking course. He's going to overtake Tom Brady on a lot of different things, win-wise and stat-wise, which fire me up because Tom Brady, love him to death, respect him as a person, especially once his career's done. I can't stand Tom Brady at all, anything on the field. And it has nothing to do with his winning. Just he wasn't very good flat out, personally, talent-wise, whatever. That's a whole other discussion before I get too worked up that way. But it's not even in the same realm of conversation when you compare like the talent of Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady. And Patrick Mahomes is doing the winning and building a program and a tradition with the Kansas City Chiefs. And it's interesting to see of how it's just sustained and how like you can just find a gem. Somebody who's a gunslinger at Texas Tech. He threw a crap ton of yards back in the day there, but it's really – it's cool to see as a sports fan to sit back. This is what we're like growing up. We grew up with Tom Brady as our preteen through our teenage years, all that. And now we get Pat Mahomes as soon as he retires. Like it's greatness we're witnessing here. It's truly an awe factor. Like obviously the hoopla with all the side stuff off the field with the Chiefs. Some people like it, don't like it, whatever your opinion is on that. But the sheer success and factors of Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes and the Hunt family orchestrating this team and rosters over the years, it's incredible. And it's truly remarkable. And then, like Carter said this multiple times during our playoff talks before the past couple of weeks, it's the worst roster the Kansas City's had, and they're right back to it. And they're honestly looking more polished as a full team unit on both sides of the ball than ever before. So it's crazy. You can say maybe the talent's not as good as other years, but I think it's the most well-oiled machine as a team and a cohesion that they've ever had there. It starts with your leader at the end of the day, like just betting against him, doing different types of stuff. You can't. Like it's Patrick Mahomes. He finds a way to win. Whoever's on the field who's in a Chiefs jersey, he's going to will yourself to victory. And the interesting thing before I let somebody else go is just the diversity that they face. People aren't touching on this enough, I think, of what the ups and downs that they had early on this season. It was not good for, 2-month stretch, you guys would say probably at certain times. It was not good. I mean, there were certain times you're like, are this even a playoff team? Like, we got to be honest, some games that they're playing teams and getting beat by bad football teams, winning close games. But they stuck together, and you got the common denominator, Travis Kelce, who's been lights out in the playoffs. Lights out. I mean, just what record did he just beat of Jerry Rice? Was it yards or catches?
Receptions.
It was receptions.
Reception. I'm like, dude, like all-time reception leader we're talking about here, and that's not even the quarterback or the head coach.
Did he break them both? Did he break them both? Yards?
I think
there was one.
It was. I think it was receptions in the postseason.
Yeah, yeah. I'm talking postseason record, 100%. But it was receptions, not yards, which makes sense. But it's crazy the dynasty and history that we're witnessing here, and they're just scratching the surface, in my opinion. Like Pat Mahomes is 27, 28. Like it's crazy at the end of the day here what we're witnessing. It's just awesome as a straight sports fan and just our sports content, everything that we talk about here, to witness this greatness that we're on.
Oh, 100%. And I want to I think we can kind of transition this Mahomes talk into just let's break down the individual teams. Let's start off with the Kansas City Chiefs preview, and then we'll dive into the 49ers. Now, when we sit here and we talk about Patrick Mahomes' greatness, right, it's all recognizable in front of everyone that watches NFL football, period. You watch the Kansas City Chiefs, regardless of the poor play early on in the regular season, we all knew Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL. And arguably already starting to reach a stature that no quarterback has gotten to this early
on this pace, man. It's crazy.
So Patrick Mahomes, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure I heard this the other day. I was listening to Shannon Sharp and Ocho Cinco talk about the playoffs and just Mahomes' greatness, talking about is Brock Purdy elite, just the whole Super Bowl conversation. And they mentioned Patrick Mahomes already has 14 playoff wins. 14 playoff wins, and this early in his freaking career,
he's never been in a championship game in his career, AFC championship game. When it's like it's astronomical the stuff we're seeing, bro.
I'll give you a stat too. In his past 6 postseason games, so his last 6 postseason games, he's completed 70% of his passes. Average per attempt sits at 7 yards, 11 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Past 6 postseason games, Mahomes shows up to play when it matters, and I am done betting against him, period.
Oh, yeah.
No matter when it comes to it.
Oh, that should have been sailed.
The room has shifted from last.
No, it's not the room shifted. It was also – it was more so the letdown of the Ravens of Lamar. But that's a whole other discussion because they didn't show up to play.
That game, they didn't show up to play, period. I don't think there's much else you can say about that game. They didn't show up to play.
Well, what I already equated and knew the greatness of Patrick Mahomes, I was just hoping more so to see it out of the Ravens.
I think the Ravens are a better team, in my opinion. They didn't show up to play.
Well, that's kind of what determines the best team.
I wouldn't say so. I mean,
because this is
lesser teams can make.
Yeah, you're talking roster. You're talking on paper, though, better team. Yeah. That's what Bryce is saying. So that doesn't make them a better team.
No, but maybe on paper. But paper.
That's it. Paper never does.
In the way they've played all year too.
Because I was going to ask you this, guys, too, before we got into the breakdown. When you guys thought Ravens, was this a heart thing or was it a head thing? Were you thinking with your head or were you thinking with your heart?
It was both. It was also me just thinking that I wanted, in my heart, that I really wanted Lamar to win at the end of the day. But in my head, I was like, I don't want to see the Chiefs back again because I like to see hypocrisy. Like there's everybody even on a neutral playing field. I don't want to see the same teams win it every year. Yes, we like the greatness and all that's associated with Mahomes, but I still want to see somebody else in there. I want to see Lamar get his first ring.
I think that was majority of people's mindset was it wasn't necessarily because I knew that we're gonna win. Like I'm not saying like I know who's gonna win, but like I was very confident Kansas City was gonna win, and I think most people deep down knew that. I think a lot of people wanted to see Lamar. So. Like I think a lot of people wanted Lamar because he's had a great season. Hasn't had the greatest of luck in the postseason, and they wanted that Ravens team, good defense, young guys. They wanted them to come in and beat the new New England Patriots, which is really what Kansas City is. It's the Patriots all over again. But I think most people, that's what they were thinking because you can't – it is like Tom Brady. You cannot really bet against them until they prove that they can't do that. Like Tom Brady's last year with the Patriots, I think people knew – I think they lost – I don't know if it was Tennessee who beat him. Someone beat him in the postseason, and everyone's like, "Oh, Now it's done. Tom Brady's done, and then he goes to Tampa Bay and wins. But I just think that game specifically, the pressure, which I had mentioned, Mahomes does not fold under any type. He plays.
He doesn't.
He performs with that pressure, and so does Kansas City's whole team. And you guys know from playing sports, if you got one or two guys that play like that, and
makes everybody else around you.
Makes everybody do that. And I think
you feed off of it.
And guys like Pacheco, who's a young back but has been there before.
All he knows is winning, man. All he knows is greatness.
Yeah.
Right, but I'm saying for a young guy having the confidence because he's been in that. I mean, he has a Super Bowl, and having Travis Kelce and having Andy Reid, who's going to go down as one of the best coaches ever, having that is huge. And I think the Ravens not necessarily having the confidence, in my opinion. I mean, all those guys rallied around Lamar, but it's not the same when you're rallying around a Mahomes or a Tom Brady. It's just a different feel.
Yeah, it's just Mahomes is here and everybody else is underneath.
Mahomes.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I think all of us, no one really wanted.
That was a safe pick. The Ravens were the sexy pick. That's really what it is at the end of the day, in my opinion.
And Vegas but they were favored. So that tells you a lot of money was with Baltimore. And I think one last stat I wanted to bring up. Did you know $2.5 billion is betted on this Super Bowl in the United States? That's sick.
It's everything. It's the coin flip, what people are wearing, what's going to be the first commercial.
It's probably going to ruin sports.
Are you
especially
one of those
when you got ESPN literally putting up parlays on the screen where 10 years ago it was absolutely like
you get arrested. You get arrested.
I mean, you can still get arrested for, obviously we saw the guy with what's his name? I think he's on Philly now, but he got was saying he was putting bets in for people. There was a story that ESPN came out with. But I think betting in general, and now it's so popular that you can do it literally on anything, everywhere. I think it's going to hurt sports, especially the NFL, because there's so much attention. This is America's sport now, where in the past maybe you can make the argument baseball was kind of America's pastime. It's not like that anymore. It's football now.
It's going to hurt the diehard football fanatics. I think that's the biggest thing here because it's segueing it for a marketing and sports business thing, because this is what I'm studying right now in my grad programs. Business-wise and money-wise and all that off the field, it makes the most sense ever because it's a profit at the end of the day. That's what everybody wants. But for the sports content and like people just tuning in and watching games, it's saturating. It's watering it down for everybody viewing and tuning in because they're viewing in for their betting needs more so than the actual sports fans. And like growing up, you had an identity with the team. Like that's who you root for, no matter what sport or what league it is. But now it's going to be like, my dad's a bettor now. I'm a 16-year-old. I'm going to start betting because that's what my dad was betting, even though it's illegal. That's going on. That's what's going to be how you're marketed as a sports fan. I think that's some of the spin of what Carter is saying. It's a very interesting dynamic because now everybody's going to be shaped of betting and then sports instead of sports and then everything attached with sports. And I think it's a cool angle or an interesting angle.
I think it's been coming along the pipe, especially with fantasy, because that's the one thing with fantasy too is like it's – no one wants to watch a Thursday night football of the Commanders versus, they do
with $100 on the line though.
But if you got money on the game, that's what. Yeah, like no one wants to watch the Commanders Bears on a Thursday night.
That wasn't a bad game. I remember
that was actually
that. That's when DJ Moore spazzed.
I should
watch that together, right?
I should say Chicago versus Carolina. That was a bad Thursday night game. That was bad. But
like a
betting,
Tennessee,
unfortunately,
Pittsburgh.
Anything with the Bears is bad, but
I don't know about that. But betting, whether it's fantasy or gambling in general, like I can see why when you have money on the game or you got a player that's on fantasy playing, it makes it a lot more entertaining and a lot more fun.
Frustrating, but
it's stressful, but I think that takes away some of the fun of football.
Well, realistically, I think
just the fun of a sports fan.
Yeah, anytime you have money on something, it's enticing, right? Like this could be an angle from sports. It could be an angle if you go out in the backyard and you're rolling dice with buddies. Whoever rolls the highest number gets $1 bill. You play left, right, center. You start playing blackjack. you're at the slots. It doesn't matter. Anytime money is on the line, you make a bet with your friends that you won't do this, you'll do that. Money on the line, period, gets people fired up. And I do agree with Gannon's statement when he talk about, like, I think this younger generation, we're going to start to see a steer away from diehard fans. We're like, us three, we grew up in prime time football.
Well, we also didn't have the social media factor. We only watched our teams on Monday Night Football, CBS, Sunday Night Football. We were up singing the song, the theme songs for it all, because like that was our entertainment. We don't have 5 million other options like kids do now.
I agree, but if you're a betting man, Carter, which I know you'll probably lay down a bet, and you've probably started to look at some things you would consider.
Maybe 2, maybe 3.
What would you?
What would you?
What would you put down for this? Let's just Carter's parlay of the day. Super Bowl.
I don't.
A new segment, Carter's Pick'ems, right here. Let's go.
That's
Carter's
the one mistake I've made in the past. The parlays are a complete waste of money. It's basically a charity. That's why they market it so heavily.
Yep.
Because it's hard to hit one game, let alone hit 4 or 5. Like I mean, people see the big
the player props.
Yeah, you put $10 and you see $2,000 and it's super enticing. But I've been doing more straight bets. But I mean, realistically, I would take Kansas City money line because the 2 points. I mean, maybe you could get it to 3 points. Yeah. Because I'm sitting on 2.5, you're gonna get screwed.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the spread, man. Don't ever sweat it. Just take money line. Don't worry about the spread.
Yeah, but the money line, you also don't get. Like, if you got a big favorite and you take the money line, your payouts, you put $100 when you win the freaking $1.
Take it small and build it up.
Yes,
build it up.
but
we're not putting down $100 bets. We're talking about normal people here.
Yeah. But I take. I mean, Kansas City's my pick, and I would take Kansas City money line in this situation. Yeah. I don't know necessarily about player props because I hate player props.
You don't know.
There's way too much that could happen. And
blindfold picking it.
It's basically, and you get lucky every once in a while. Like I had a buddy that had a Jameson Williams first touchdown score, and hit like $300. That's just, I see the odds. He's got pretty good odds. I'm just gonna take it. It's
a whole nother level of sports betting.
It's a whole nother level, and that's a sick level.
Yeah.
But I would, if I'm betting Kansas City money line, I mean, I just don't think you can. I think Kansas City is going way too on the up right now to not ride with them. I think the over and under I saw was like 47.5, I think. Yeah, it's at 47.5, which
I think it's a little high.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on how the Niners defense is so.
But like also the Kansas City offense, like they've been winning and producing, but it's also not like the Barnbird style that we're used to of them also playing. That's why I think it's a little high.
I mean, 17. I mean, you also play Baltimore's defense is a lot better than
true. No doubt.
And so putting up 17 on Baltimore's defense in the AFC Championship and
at
really,
their place,
most of their points were scored in the first half. Kansas City's. I mean,
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, it wasn't like total domination from start to finish from the offense.
No, I think it was the key to that game was Kansas City's defense.
Oh, 100%.
They stepped up big time and made huge plays. Now, some of that was errors on Baltimore's end, but still.
Dude, their DBs are fast, bro. Their DBs fly, dog.
They're good, man. Dude. So I got Kansas City overall winning, even if we're looking at the betting aspect too.
No, 100%. I'm gonna tell you what I just built. We'll talk about. I'm almost there.
So you're just putting random stuff together.
No. I got this one, and I think you guys would agree. So right now I could go a 3-pick, and then we'll get back to the Chiefs preview. But I could go a 3-pick, just a simple plus 525 odds. Chiefs money line. Christian McCaffrey anytime touchdown scorer. And Travis Kelce over 70.5 yards. I think that's pretty realistic. I think McCaffrey probably gets in the end zone. I think Kelce's the most favorable target in this offense outside of Rashee Rice, and I'm taking the Chiefs to win the ball game. And I think one thing I want to add in there, I haven't added in there, so I don't know what the odds would be, but I would add in a Brock Purdy anytime interception. I think I'd take the over on the 1.5 interceptions there. So I think a little 4-pick parlay, but I think if you're looking for something basic, Chiefs money line, Travis Kelce yards, Christian McCaffrey gets into the end zone. But back to, let's just get back. We talked about betting a little bit and got your little preview for that. But let's get back to the Kansas City Chiefs, and then we'll switch gears real quick and talk about the San Francisco 49ers. But Andy Reid, we talk about Patrick Mahomes, right? But Andy Reid going to, what is this, his 5th Super Bowl appearance? And I think
because he won his first one with the Green Bay, with Brett Favre and Mike Holmgren back in the day.
Yeah, his 5th Super Bowl appearance. He only trails Bill Belichick with 9 and Don Shula with 6. Andy Reid deserves his flowers. And I think a storyline to consider for this is, if the Chiefs win it, does Andy Reid call it?
Yeah, it's a question. It's year to year, 100%.
And I know in a situation where you keep winning, you keep getting back to the big game, everyone asks the question, why would you? Until you can't do it no more, why would you call it? Obviously, age and just the grind and time you have to put in season after season, I think is a question and a storyline to consider with Andy Reid. I do think they have the coach on their staff that would take over, and I think it would probably end up being Steve Spagnuolo. I think would kind of slot up that defensive coordinator who has been a menace
culture guy. Yeah,
100%. And to keep it inside the building would probably be the smart route to go about things. An interesting aspect with that, though, is if they did rotate Spags to a head coach, obviously you got to find that new D coordinator. Spags probably still calls the defense, but who's calling the offense? Is it Matt Nagy?
Nope. Eric Bieniemy's coming back.
Bieniemy come back?
Because Andy Reid's out. Guys, same system. It's all. It would be such a Chiefs move. Like everything called the Patriots moves before, we're saying it now. It'd be a Chiefs move 100%.
100%. No, I agree with that.
Because it's asinine he's not on an offensive staff right now. It's crazy to me. It's stupid.
But when I talk about the Kansas City Chiefs, I want you guys to pick out one player that is your X factor and maybe try to go a little under the radar type guy. We know Patrick Mahomes is an X factor. We know Travis Kelce's an X factor. The X factor for me in this football game, the Super Bowl, the biggest game of them all, is Nick Bolton. Linebacker, I think, is going to have to play insane to help stop Christian McCaffrey, the best running back we've seen in the last decade. He's going to have to do everything in his power to make stops. We talk about Roquan Smith being the best backer in the game. Last week, struggling against the Kansas City Chiefs. But this week, Nick Bolton facing off against San Francisco, he's going to have a big game. He's going to have a Roquan Smith type of game. And I think his ability, not only as a guy who can rally to the football, who can play the run game, he can also play the pass game pretty effectively, can come up with some interceptions. So maybe I call that Brock Purdy interception. Maybe, just maybe, it's Nick Bolton catching it.
Are you talking the key person for Kansas City or for the game?
Yeah, for Kansas City. Talk about a player for Kansas City that you're keeping an eye on that maybe isn't someone that's big. You can go, obviously, you want to talk about Travis, but if you got an under the radar guy, Kadarius Toney. I don't even know if he suits up. I don't even know.
I think realistically, I mean, it's kind of odd. I mean, it's not like a crazy one like you have, but I think Pacheco is going to be a huge focus for them because Green Bay, but the Niners have not been able to stop the run. Like, Green Bay ran all over them. You saw Detroit have success running the ball with Montgomery and Gibbs.
Which is crazy with that D-line and the backers they got.
Yeah. I don't understand. I do not understand how that works. But I think Pacheco, as we can see, is a dog running the football. And I think people are kind of on, like, he's been running hard. They're going to give him the ball. They're going to take some time off the clock. And I think he's going to be a huge X factor for Kansas City because, like I mentioned, running the football, taking some of those plays away from Mahomes because he's going to get out and he's going to throw the ball around. And so it's huge for Pacheco. If they can get the throwing game down, it's going to be huge for them to get the run down too. So I think Pacheco is going to be the X factor, at least for the offensive side.
Oh, it's a
I think,
fantastic pick.
yeah, Carter talked about the Kansas City defense really being the MVP, the most valuable part of the game, really beating the Baltimore Ravens. I'm going to go with Trent McDuffie. They're all pro cornerback who's big. He's physical in the run game. He can tackle. He comes up. He does a lot of things. We already know what he does in coverage down the field. I'm not worried about that because obviously you got Ayuk and some other guys matchup wise. But what's he going to do with the other guys, with Jerry Sneed, the other guys, Reed on the back end? Their whole cornerback group is kind of who I'm picking out. I'm going to go with Trent McDuffie because he's their guy, their go-to dude. But can they get up in the run game? Can they do some stuff? Can they, limit Debo on some stuff? Can they tackle Christian McCaffrey in the open field? If you can make some big tackles early and flip this game and get the ball back to your offense and let them cook and get a big lead, what is 49ers going to do for the third game in a row with their backs against the wall against the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl? I don't think they can do that, and that's why I think the Kansas City defense, more specifically the secondary with Trent McDuffie and company, is going to be the factor of why they win this game.
No, I like that 100%. I think we all picked 3 guys that are definitely, I wouldn't say under the radar guys, but they're guys that are going to have to show up and they're going to have to play. Especially Gannon, we both touch on defensive players. It's huge. We know the juggernaut that San Francisco possesses when it comes.
We already know Mahomes and the offense are going to do their thing. It's going to come down to that Kansas City defense.
It is, and for them to ride that momentum that they have coming in against a very talented Ravens offense and transitioning into an even better 49ers offense when everyone's healthy and all pieces are moving full steam, it's going to be interesting. But I like those picks. Let's transition. And we'll start right away with 49ers players, and then we'll preview the 49ers a little bit. And then we've kind of already made our picks a little bit, but we'll make our final picks and just address any further questions and or remarks we have. But my key player for the San Francisco 49ers, I'm not going to go with Purdy. I'm not going to go with Ayuk, McCaffrey, Debo, Kittle. I'm going to sit back, and I'm going to go with Charvarius Ward, a guy who was cornerback for the Kansas City Chiefs. Now he's a cornerback for the San Francisco 49ers. And I'm not simply picking this player because it's necessarily a guy who's going to get an interception, a guy who's going to get a pick six or force a fumble. I'm picking Charvarius Ward because it's a guy who's got something to prove. It's a guy who flipped the script. He's on a different football team now against the team. They're playing the San Francisco 49ers are playing the Kansas City Chiefs, and they have not beat them when Mahomes is their quarterback. So they want this game, and I'm not going to sit here and doubt them that they can't win this football game because they are an ultra talented football team on paper, and they've proved it. They've shown it. But Charvarius Ward, look for him to be a guy that sets the tone for the San Francisco 49ers defense. He may get in some players' ears. He may get fired up in certain situations. And if he records a turnover, look for him to go crazy. But he's a guy to keep an eye on for me outside of the main superstars on this San Francisco 49ers team.
Go ahead, Budenz.
I mean, I'm going to take the obvious one, and I'm sure you guys know it's Purdy by far, I think.
That's why I left that up for you.
All the pressure is kind of falling onto him because we know
Let you talk about Jimmy G 2.0.
Not even close. We know this Niners defense and offense is talented. Like, they have an absolute stacked team. And so I do think a lot of the pressure comes on Purdy because there's a lot going around with him right now. Like, can he live up to the hype?
Is the Anna Fry's big brother?
Huh?
Is the Anna Fry's big brother?
The Anna Fry's storyline. We haven't even touched on the Taylor Swift storyline, but the Anna Fry's storyline.
I mean, it's Purdy. He's the X factor because we know what the team can do. We know how well they can run the ball with McCaffrey. We know the studs they have with Kittle, Ayuk, and Debo, and who they have on defense. It's really going to come down to Purdy in a big moment like this in the Super Bowl, and really your first full year starting at quarterback from being the last pick in the draft. I mean, so a lot of this is going to weigh on him, I think. And he's going to have to make tough throws. If he makes errors, which I'm sure he will, he needs to bounce back, which he has these last 2 games. He's made a lot of errors, and he bounces back. Taking that Lions game, I think Purdy, he should have proved that he can go down and win. And coming back from 17, now you can say that there's, Ayuk caught a ball off someone. Okay, but you can make that argument with every quarterback. You can make that with every matchup. There's always something weird that happens. I mean, you can make that argument with the Ravens, with them fumbling basically into the end zone. There's certain weird things that will happen in a game, and you have to take it. And we've seen against Green Bay, against Detroit, him making really good throws down the stretch, him
Couple.
running the ball and picking up 50-some yards in a drive.
Him and Mahomes have done really well with the scrambles on third down in these last couple important games.
And we know that's Mahomes' game. Like, he's cleaned up most of that. He used to run a lot more than he does now.
Yeah.
He's smart with it now.
Being smart, because we know, in my opinion, if you're a run quarterback, you're not going to make it, I don't think. Deep down, you just can't. Teams are going to figure it out. Like, I think Lamar, they figured it out. They made him throw the ball. And you look how that ended up with not utilizing Lamar for what he actually is good at, and that's running the ball, and they didn't run him. They didn't even
run the running backs.
They didn't even run the running backs. They're doing stupid screen passes.
8 attempts.
So
freaking attempts.
So Purdy for sure is my X factor. I could see it coming down to Purdy making good choices and it getting real close down at the end of the game and him having to make good throws and good decisions and the game kind of falling on what Purdy does in those situations. So I think by far it's Purdy and what he's going to be able to do down the stretch, especially if they get down like they did against Detroit. I'm not saying they'll get down 17 like they did, but just in general, what happens if their back's against the wall? I think Purdy will be able to. Not saying they'll win, but I don't think he's going to look terrible like a lot of people kind of expect him to in the Super Bowl.
Yeah. I think my biggest question, because I did have Purdy as my X factor on the offensive side, I think the biggest thing, like Carter touched on, are the mistakes. How many mistakes are going to be too much and be insurmountable, I think, for Kansas City if they do get up to a big lead. But I'm going to flip it. I'm going to go defense through and through on both sides of the ball here because I think it's important for both teams. It's crucial for both teams to get their defense established. I'm going with Chase Young, man, number 99 defensive end for him, a guy that they traded for this offseason. He has to show up for the 49ers to win this game. He is a liability in the run game. The Lions last week with Montgomery and Gibbs attacked his side of the line every time he was lined up there. People have been running at him. He's been a no-show in the run game. He doesn't even get pressure on the quarterback. He doesn't really do much right now. And I know I've said this before, and I'm not attacking the man, but I also know the talent and his size and his ability at the end of the day. Like, this is the top, 2 pick in the NFL, like in the draft coming out of Ohio State. The dude was a Heisman finalist as a defensive end. Like, can we have a big-time game out of a big-time dude that they gave up some capital for and made a big in-season move? And the guy really hasn't done much to back him up and make that D-line better because you already know what Bosa's going to do on the other side. You already know what Armstead, the other D-line guys, they're going to come through and do their thing. But can Chase Young not be a liability and actually be a factor in the run game and helping the run game, getting some pressure on Mahomes, kind of containing him, being a strong edge on the outside, coming in and keeping Mahomes contained and not letting him scramble? I think that is vital at the end of the day because this defense has to make plays. Yes, Fred Warner in the secondary, they've done some stuff, but they got to be like X factors and game changers here, making some turnovers, creating stuff, even if you want a chance to beat Patrick Mahomes at the end of the day, because he's physically just not going to give you anything. You have to go physically take it from him at the end of the day if you want a chance to win this. So that's who I got for my X factor on that. I want to see Chase Young be a game factor, a game playing guy again that's doing something and making plays because I haven't seen it.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you. I think when they traded for Chase Young, everyone expected wow.
Like that's another centerpiece, 2 big pieces on your defensive line with him and Bosa. Like those guys need to be anchors, and he's not anchored down right now.
And I have read about the possibility of him not even starting in this football game, which as you mentioned,
the snap count might be limited. I saw that too.
Yeah, no, he's a liability, not a factor right now, and we don't have a lot of it's effort and.
It'd be one thing if he was still getting to the quarterback, which is what he's paid and brought in to do. He's not even doing that, let alone stopping any run game. It's like, what are we doing?
There was the one clip of Gibbs, I think it was Gibbs or Montgomery, running into the end zone and Chase Young's effort running after him.
Bullshit, dude.
Was just
bullshit. That's bad.
And
that got me mad being a coach, bro. Like, you can't do stuff like that. Like, it's professional. You expect to win and do little things. You're in the biggest game of your life, and you're not going 100%. Why?
Yeah.
Like, why?
Like that, like we talk about being in a locker room, like you feed off of those 2 to 3 guys. Well, you also feed off of the 2 to 3 bad apples too. So when
Dude,
you got
imagine the
players,
first drive of the game, Chase Young comes out and does a swim move or hits a spin something off the
they
tackle
feed
and
off
just
of it.
light up Mahomes. Like, dude, that is huge for him. You haven't
They feed
seen
off
that.
of it,
You haven't seen any
100%.
spark from him.
But so we talk about our players. We got 6 players that we named that we all think will be major factors. If not major factors, they will at least be guys to keep an eye on in this matchup that are outside of your basic star power type players. I think the interesting thing about this 49ers team, and then we'll make our picks, they sent 7 players to first or second team All Pro. Uh, they have 8 players who played meaningful snaps in their last Super Bowl they were in. So they got experience there too. They got guys that were in big time games. We talk about the Chiefs and how often they've been there. The 49ers are familiar with this stage as well. Obviously not Brock Purdy, but you got stars that are familiar with this stage. So I personally am going to rock with the Kansas City Chiefs, as I mentioned in my parlay. I just am not going to bet against Patrick Mahomes. I think the big factor for them will be their defense to try to slow up the major weapons, major factors on the San Francisco 49ers offense. But I do believe that Patrick Mahomes will walk away with another Lombardi.
Yeah, I'm taking Mahomes in Kansas City, as you probably could have mentioned earlier with my pick too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I got them, but it's not like I can see the Niners winning. Like it's
You never
not
know.
any.
Never know.
It's not anything like I would be. I would be a little surprised, but like I also know how good this Niners team really is.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's kind of a toss up, but I'm taking Kansas City just because of what they've done in this postseason, and now they are the underdog. They are the villain in a way, and I think
Yeah.
this is the first time they've been the villain. I think the last couple of years people wanted them to win, and they like the dynamic of the team. I think a lot of stuff off the field now with Kansas City has made them the villain and an underdog in a way, and I think they'll strive even more in this role than the former role of just kind of being the stud team, the favorites, and so I'm rocking with Kansas City.
Yeah,
I agree.
I'm obviously going to pick Kansas City, but it's more so from what I've seen out of San Fran the last couple of weeks. They have not been consistent. They can't put a whole game together, start to finish, on both sides of the ball. They've had to come back late and win games. Regardless of what happens, you were still the 1 seed and were still at home through the majority of your playoffs. They were not dominating in any game that they played in the postseason. And yes, on paper, they're good. We keep talking about this with the 49ers, this whole team all year. But have we really ever seen them be that good and that dominating against good teams all year? I haven't from start to finish, like at a complete game. And also with some of the Shanahan late game play calling at the end of first half, second half, like there's just a lot of different things here. And there's factors of why I can't even fathom. I really don't see a way that San Fran can win this game at the end of the day. Yes, it's football, anything can happen, blah, blah, blah. But as going off what I've seen with my eyes, watching the 49ers play, their inconsistencies at home with everything in their favor, and Mahomes and what they've done and flipped the script of their adversity and gone on the road and beat Lamar and that team against that type of defense, I just don't see. I mean, I could see this being a 10 to 13 point game at the end of the day because I just don't think, one, the 49ers can play a clean enough game start to finish to keep them in the game, and two, the inconsistencies with the San Francisco run D. It's just those two big things right now are sticking out to me that Isaiah Pacheco is going to have a tremendous day for the Chiefs at the end of the day. And then obviously you already got Mahomes and Reed. It makes sense at the end of the day. Like, you don't even have to touch on those guys because you already know what they're going to bring. But it's just inconsistencies with the 49ers, and I don't even think this is going to be – I'm not going to say not close because it's not going to be a 2-3 score game, but I think it could be a 10-point game with the Chiefs.
100%. Well, we appreciate you guys tapping in for this one, and we'll see you after the big game.